Last year was the first year I made more money legally than I did when I was selling drugs. And that was 23 years ago. So I did really well selling drugs. But what happened essentially was, as more people asked me for more drugs, I would just find connections. And I was really good at selling drugs. And so I would pretty quickly catch up to my connections' ability to supply me. And then the deal was always the same. I would say, hey, look, I'm not trying to take over your market. Let's go in together. I'll make your drugs cheaper, right? Let's say you normally buy an ounce. I'll buy another ounce. You get your drugs for cheaper. I'll get my drugs for cheaper, and we'll collaborate. But then inevitably, I would overtake them pretty quickly and then develop my own market. I had 4 or 5 guys selling for me at all points. And again, initially, like you said, it was fun. We were at the after-hour parties. We did Las Palmas, like on Sunset over here, with like, you know, with Paris Hilton, and they were all like partying. I remember seeing Jay-Z at like Dublin's which was on Sunset at the time, like with all these models. It started out really, really fun, and then it got really, really dark. First of all, because as you climb up, the risk comes up. So I would my place got robbed a couple of times, and money and drugs got taken. But then I got held up at gunpoint, and like hog-tied, the whole thing, beaten up. And now not only was I like $500,000 in debt because they took a bunch of drugs and a bunch of money, I was also beaten up. And now the idea that people could hold a gun to my head to rob me became a reality. So now every time I traveled, there was a sawed-off shotgun under the seat and a gun that I had. So now you're living that world. Now whenever you're going out, you're leaving somebody behind the studio. There's, you know, like, have you seen Scarface?
Yeah.
So, you know, in Scarface, in the end, when he's sitting in his mansion, but he's got 30 video cameras and all he's doing is doing drugs. I ended up living that life just with meth instead of cocaine. I had internal video footage. I threw it out, which is both good and bad, because it's like, it might be good to remember how crappy it got sometimes. There's this black couch in my studio, and there were like 3 different cameras pointed at it. And I would be sitting on that couch for 7 to 8 hours a day, minimum, doing drugs, and then people would come in. If it was guys, we'd hang out, shoot the shit, do a little drugs. If it was girls, we'd do some drugs. Maybe we'd hook up. Maybe we'd like fool around. Maybe we'd have sex. They'd walk. I'm still on the same couch. 8 hours a day. And like, that was my life. That was it. And I was 124 pounds. So I'm 165 pounds sitting at 40 pounds less. Like, I looked like a skeleton. Nothing was good. The way the arrest happened was I'd been on probation in Beverly Hills. It got to the point where I couldn't enter into Beverly Hills. So for anybody who doesn't know this, Beverly Hills is its own city. They have their own police force. All the cops in Beverly Hills knew me. So if I walked into Beverly Hills, I would get arrested, like on the spot. The last time we tried that out, I was in a club. I used to rent cars all the time because if they would know my car anywhere. So I rented cars, and then the guy saw me, stopped me. The 2 people in the back of my car that I was given a ride to got arrested because they had drugs on them. And I was like, oh shit. Don't you guys know, like, if you're with me, we're probably going to get pulled over by the cops. So I stopped going to Beverly Hills. Long story short, I get off probation. I'm off this like Beverly Hills watch list. I ride my motorcycle through Beverly Hills, and I got into an accident. So I'm on the floor. My leg is broken, like cracked. And I have a half a pound of coke in my jacket. And because the cops knew me there, I think, as they were putting me on the gurney, they took my jacket off of me. And by the time it went into evidence, they found a half a pound of coke. And then it was like 3 months of just trying to get me to snitch, and I wouldn't. And so then eventually, as the book opens up, a SWAT team came to visit me.
And what was that like?
I mean, I don't remember anything other than waking up to like shotguns in my head, right? Because I was out, I used to take GHB or Xanax to go to sleep because I couldn't sleep on meth. So it was like, I mean, the sound I woke up to was the meth pipe that I'd left next to my bed cracking as somebody stomped on it. And I came to in this GHB haze. And I used to look around, and it's like a room, you know, my room was probably only about this size. And it's like 12 cops, shotguns, shields, the whole SWAT uniform kind of thing. So I was really just in shock more than anything else. But my leg was broken, so they had to lift me out of my bed. They tore my place up. Ironically, I had a Scarface poster that was literally the size of this curtain in my living room, and so they put me under that. I almost wish somebody took a picture because it was just so ironic. You couldn't pay money to get anything more ironic than that. Me with a broken leg. He had a broken arm in the movie shot right after he got shot, and they took me to jail.
So walk me through it, because I really love, so in this podcast specifically, I really double click on stories.
Yeah.
I want to know what it smelled like, what it sounded like, because I also think most people haven't been to jail. And there's a lot of curiosity about what it's actually like.
Yeah. So I went through the processing part of jail about 4 times in my life. The first was in Beverly Hills jail. And to be honest, now that I went to like real people jail, Beverly Hills jail is kind of nice.
Right.
You get these like egg sandwiches in the morning, kind of like a McDonald's sausage and egg McMuffin.
Uh-huh.
That is not what happens in real person jail.
Got it.
So yeah, they take me to the hospital, USC Medical Center that is connected to LA County Men's Central Jail, because my leg was broken. I couldn't have a crutch. They needed to make sure that I was okay. This was after that accident. And I detoxed in jail, which for meth just means you can't wake up. Literally cannot wake up. So somebody would make me up for food, I would eat, and then I would pass back out. And I spent about 5 days in there. My bail was almost $1 million because of the gun and everything else and the amount of drugs they found. Like at home, I had, I think, like 10,000 ecstasy pills and like pounds of cocaine and pounds of meth. So that was what I had at home. They didn't find the storage stuff I had, which I got rid of after the arrest. They never found it. But like I had like 80,000 ecstasy pills hidden away. So I had to get rid of all that stuff. Otherwise it'd be like decades in prison. So I detoxed in that cell. I told my parents, do not pay the $1 million. And that's insane. I'm either going to stay here for months, or you're not paying $1 million to get me out of here. Went in front of the judge, got a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. I'm a very privileged person. My upper middle class. My parents paid for a lawyer. And I got out, immediately went to rehab. I did I don't know, a lot of people do this before rehab. I did it too, like the last hurrah.
The one last hurrah.
So like broken, it's so funny to think about it. Broken leg, just out of jail for a week, just detox. I invited all the people I knew, which literally, honestly, friends-wise, was like 5 people. Because all the other people were my customers.
Right.
Like my friends were 5 people. So I invited like the 5 friends I had, and we just did drugs all night, the night before I got to go to rehab. And then my stripper girlfriend drove me, because that's the way you have to if
what
you're a
else
drug
would
dealer.
you do? Yes,
she drove me to rehab the next day, and I entered rehab. And I won't tell all the story in here, but you asked about what jail was like. The hardest thing, I kind of made a joke about it as we were starting up here. The hardest thing about jail is getting accustomed to all the freedoms that you things you can't even imagine that you take for granted being taken away from you. Like going to the toilet with a door closed. Like nobody thinks about that. Yeah. But you get put in a cell, if you're lucky, like I started out, it was a high security cell, but 4 guys, and the toilet's in the corner. So you wait as long as you think you can, and then you don't wait anymore because you can't. And you're like, I guess I'm gonna go take a dump in front of these 4 people I've never met before. And it's like, it's actually the little stuff like that is dehumanizing. Or the fact that twice a week, if you're lucky, and there's no riots going on right now, twice a week, they open 1 row at a time. They open the cell doors and the showers turn on. And you've got about a minute to get your stuff and walk out of your cell to go to the shower. Then you get, whatever, let's say 5-10 minutes for everybody to shower. So like 30 people just get butt naked, go shower. And then you got to make it back to your cell after the noise goes off. And if you miss that, then you shower next time people shower. Like there's no, you can't take care of yourself if you know what I'm saying. So it's all that little stuff.
Yeah.
You just never thought, because everybody thinks about, okay, I'm locked in a room. But sure, but what are you doing in that room, and who else is in that room? And so it was a year of that. I ended up serving a year in jail. After being sober for about 8 months, I went to rehab for 8 months, and I was sober there. And it sucked, and it taught me one thing, which is I never want to go to jail again.
Yeah.
Then I got transferred to a dorm. So once my security, once they saw I'm not going to start ish and I'm not going to screw anybody up or whatever, my security level slowly dropped. So then you go into dorm. So first of all, it's all the racial stuff. Separate. The whole dorm is separated by race. And that's not a prison thing. It's the people that do it. But then the toilets are on one side.
Oh my God.
The sinks for brushing your teeth and washing your hands after are on the other side. And the last wall has the showers. So now you're going to take a shit, and it's like 12 guys brushing their teeth, 16 guys showering. It's dehumanizing on purpose.
Yeah.
The idea, because obviously it's about privacy and safety. I get that. but it's also dehumanizing on purpose. Now, I never went to prison. I went to jail. I hear in prison it's different because you're going to be spending years there.
Yeah.
So you have like your room and your area. In jail, you're constantly being moved around. But it was hell. It sucked. Like I said before the podcast started, it's the only place I've ever been scared and bored at the exact same time.
I just interviewed Alicia Rainier, who's on Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking a lot about like advocating for inmate rights. Because like you're saying, it's dehumanizing for a reason, but also like, man.
Yeah, you can find better ways to do it.
Right, totally.